You had anyone calling for a surrender yet? As soon as the word gets round, there'll be a few more calling for a surrender. You see, that pogrom, 1,400 civilians dead, they say now. Because, you know, they only count the dead, don't they? And they don't recognise us to the bad blood, the people who are still alive that really, really hurt. Don't recognise that, they just count the dead. It's like the living, fuck the living. Well, there'll be many walking wounded still. From the 7th of October. Now, there's a thing about it as to that was big. That was a big event. They'll still be talking about that in 100 years' time. It was a big event. If there's still people here to talk about it, I know I won't be. They'll be talking about it. And there's something dangerously old school about what they did. And I see this, where we saw, maybe a week ago now, we had the IDF rushing for Gaza. And I'm exchanging words with people saying, now they've got them surrounded, I just hope they sweat them. I hope they just don't do anything. Just surround them. Cut off the water. Cut off the food. Cut off the power. Just sweat them, don't do anything. It's like those people in that city, we're talking about a weapon of war here, aren't we now? Because you've just, all bets are off beyond the pale. There's nothing been done in our lifetimes that compares to that pogrom by way of deliberate provocation. And then all that gaslighting those lefties are doing now, trying to justify their positions. Oh my God, because they're just robots and they can't actually look at horror. They pretend something like that didn't really happen. They continue to run their program, Free Palestine. They've made it part of their left-wing cause, which is a poison pill. It was always the weakest part of it. It was always the part that could bring it all down. It's like, okay, into your movement, you've incorporated trans people and the sexual deviants in a big way, made them leaders. Okay, but they'll perpetuate abuse, which will make your collective stronger in your minds. But once you've added in Islamic fundamentalists, it's like they're more ruthless than you. Once you've incorporated their struggle into your own personal struggle, expect to be stabbed in the back. Expect to be betrayed. I put it in previous videos, like all you people who were following the Free Palestine, those poor people. It's like, well, they've made you look like fools by now. If you want to defend your position, the way you hold it, because those people out there, they'll be like, I know lots, like me say, I know a few Jewish people, I know a few Muslim people, I know. Right, if you want to maintain that ground, you're going to have to somehow make this unspeakable evil right. Otherwise, how could you stand with evil? And you know what? You're not the only people out there asking yourselves that. Do you want me to tell you who else are asking themselves that? The Ayatollahs. Like, yeah, it's like, you think they're superhuman or something. You think like 1,400 souls wouldn't matter to them. Who is Allah? I wonder. Man has an imagination. Allah is a judge. Oh no. People talk to me about God and I'm like, well, God has you on the hook for your actions after you've done it. Is available to you before and after the act. Well, it's you's on the hook. You did it. You will face your judgment. You will face punishment. And the usual punishment, because God can't kill you, is to drive you a bit crazy. Change your life for you. Fuck things up for you. And others will know there's something wrong. Damage and destroy your relationships. That's what God do. And then you get the Muslim guy said to me, you believe in Allah? No, I don't. I work for the Almighty. Same guy. It's like, I'm just telling you. The Ayatollahs, the leaders of the Iranians, they look at that and they're like, they want us to follow up on this. Like, we're going to rain down fire from the sky, call it righteous, and this is the instigating act. This is the instigating incident in this war. It was an ugliness previously, and now it's a real ugliness, an evil manifestation. Too old school, aren't they? Too conservative in the way they would have it amongst their own. You could corrupt Islam by rightfully calling it a jihad. It's like the wise head Muslims are now like, that's an atrocity. Book. No, you've done it now. No. For us, the elite of the not the radical crazies, the ones who are supposedly pure, the hierarchy of it, who have to be seen to be right in these Muslim countries. They have to be seen to be right. They have to be moral lily white. Have you seen what Sharia is? Have you seen what laws they're supposed to upkeep? Have you heard about some of the rituals that go off on in like West Asia, out in the sticks, where people get stoned still, people get burned still, people get hung still? It's like, that's the world, frontier justice, Islam style. And it's like, but they do have it. It's not lawless. And they're like, how can we stand our pure religion, our doctrines of good? Can't stand against this. To justify it, we would bring down our religion. What? Yes. You would bring down, to call some sort of holy war, because that would obviously be the cover. That would be where they would derive imaginary, like man-made moral imperative. It's our destiny. Don't see the Antichrist around, do you? Your myths are not coming true for you. Your attempts to set things in motion with your great bloodletting haven't manifested. They've manifested in people in the streets, but they've not manifested as insurrection, rebellion. Not really. Not when it mattered. It's like your big atrocity now. It's like to pull off a big atrocity, to try and fan the flames again, you're going to have to do something else. Or you've got to rely on the IDF coming in and making martyrs of hundreds of thousands of people, which is not going to happen, because they're just sweating you. Because they know, right? 20 days later or something, is it 15 days later, 12 days later? The shock has worn off and people are looking at it in cold light of day and saying, you killed how many people on that day? You did what to them? Every country in the world, you know what your worst nightmare is? Armed marauders, mobile, who just set about going house to house killing. That'd be the worst thing. That'd be the thing you'd worry about the most. If World War III was going to reach your doorstep, that's how it would reach it. That's what it would look like. That'd be what the PLO did in Beirut. That'd be what ISIS did in Iraq and Syria. And that'd be what Hamas has done. Let's go on a raid. And then pull off what is a pogrom. They killed them for being Jewish. Pogrom. So that is to invoke the old way of the anti-Semitic European. That's something that used to happen in Russia, something used to happen in Central Europe. Let's have a bloodletting. Pogroms, that's Ukraine's a place for pogroms. Let's get a gang together and kill ourselves a load of Jews. That's a pogrom. Let's round ourselves up some Jews and kill them. For sport. Go and read that J. Michael Straczynski's book. That's what his father was into when he was a teenager. Made friends with the local SS. What are we doing today? Today you're going to kill your first Jew. It's like you find yourself defending that position, you find the whole world against you. Eventually, the penny will drop and the whole world will be against you because that kind of behaviour doesn't stand anywhere. Thanks for showing us on television where evil was, and that it hadn't left the world. It was always there. It was just learned to hide. And then it goes out and does what it does. And then people around the world rejoice. Rejoice at the bloodletting. And then it all just makes me giggle as to how many women you see who are cheering on the bloodletting. How many women are just flat out nasty about it? How many women take to the street with these big screaming gangs of Muslims? Free Palestine. How many of them crowd of women? It's like more than half, actually. Just more than half. You see them, they're all out. In the media again, the women throwing themselves at it. Like, you seem to be able to go, fuck them Jews. We're the real victims here, and you can't resist it. They have to reach for their own victimhood. They have to reach for their own sense of entitlement. They have to reach for their own hatred. And the killing of Jews for those be catharsis. It's like they enjoyed it. And now, 10 days later, it's fading away. And in the cold light of day, they all celebrated a shameful massacre. Like something from the Middle Ages. So I'm like, your support's evaporating. And I knew it would evaporate. As I was saying, call for surrender, it's coming. Your support will evaporate. And all that will be left behind are the ones who've got individually themselves something to lose from losing. Like a damage to their reputation as to be exposed, to be shamed. And it's like those who make money on the Free Palestine grift, the anti-war grift, because it's like the Stop the War movement suddenly appeared again. Wow, Stop the War, I've not heard of them for ages. They've not said a word about Ukraine, but suddenly, it's like they went into gear as if they'd been prepared for something. But they weren't prepared for 1,400 dead civilians, were they? They weren't set up for a murderous rampage. They were set up probably for a different kind of provocation. At the end of the day, you know, it'll be put down to the Hamas, the guys they sent out. They shouldn't have trusted them. A few bad apples. How were they to know they'd go on a rampage when they'll be like that with it? They'll cut them adrift. They'll call the individuals who did the crime the criminals, and the guys who sent them be just as guilty as they are for being such terrible poor judges of character and actually giving illegal orders. Because once you've caught them and you've won, you can call their orders illegal, can't you? You're working for the government. You're a fighter for Hamas. You work for the government. And these are the orders you've been given. Told them, haven't they? Make it bloody. Make sure everyone gets to see it. And they've gone to town. They've over-exceeded their orders in some regards. And putting the videos out and performing the way they did. Poisonous, isn't it? The bad blood. And I'm exchanging words with Vaknin about a week since. I'm like, is there actually, you know, we see this word Zionist bounding around. It's like, are the Zionists in control of this? Because if they are, it's like they'll recover and they'll deal with this better than the opposition when dealing with the shock of it. Like a clever Zionist here would take 48 hours of pause and see what happens. Just like it's in the mix. Look at all this chaos. Like, nah. You can just sit here and watch it get worse. Let's listen to the lamentations of our enemy as they play the victim like they do. Let's now lead them like a puppet on a string and be more persuasive than they are. And if Hezbollah were going to follow up with an attack, they'd have already done it. If Iran wants to play games, it's like whatever contingencies are in mind for the Israelis and the CIA to disrupt Iran just became green light operations. Let's turn off their power grid. Let's hack them. Let's cause some trouble in Iran. Because that's not a stable place for a stable government. That's a hypocrisy, a joke of a place where you have your same hypocrisies and haves and have-nots as any other country in the world. They just happen to have a rather supercilious government and state. But people get on with their business. They have the internet. They have the phones. They have the society. It's like that place is by no means, just by way of numbers, youths who've been recruited into the government. It's like they've got a radical core as well. But it only functions because the government portrays itself as being divine, as being moral, as sending out people into the streets to beat the women for not covering their heads. It's supposedly for something. And if you risk its existence by backing the play of Hamas savages killing 1,400 civilians, what does that make you? I'm just saying. It's like, it's 2023, kids. It's like this dogma that the Islamists like push to a point as to Allah Akbar, fervor, murderous. It's like, what? Now what? Oh no, you've done your bit. Now what? Your magical bullshit starts to fade when, you know, it doesn't have a domino effect and everyone else doesn't throw in as well. It's like, oh no, this isn't the jihad after all. It's just something we're calling it. It's like the boss, the Almighty God, will switch off your leadership. What? Yeah. Left to their own devices, they all get to be thinking about, is this what we want to build our legacy on? Is this the time and the place to risk everything? For not much, really. And the answer is they'll always make a choice that means they live another day and stay in power. I will tell you now, I mean, to be wrong is to be wrong, but I haven't been wrong yet. Hamas's ability to call in support from other nations doesn't exist. Hezbollah not coming in Iran isn't coming either. I think the bolt has been shot and the repercussions of the event have betrayed the cause of freedom for Palestine. The cause has been destroyed. These free Palestine people, it's like, okay, we'll ostensibly give you free Palestine. What does that mean? We just leave them to be a playground for criminals. Leave the place to be whatever it descends into. What does it mean, free Palestine? Find me someone who's got an idea of what they think free Palestine means, and if it's really good, I will join your cause to free Palestine. But please tell me what you're going to do to free it, and what free might look like or even sound like. I'll be waiting.